Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Ferris Does Whatevs. I basically got through all of the project stuff that I wanted to work on. All of the anime that I wanted to watch. Well, not quite all, because I'll totally watch some more Food Wars after this. I also watched a bunch of really dumb Kids in the Hall movies. I watched Brain Candy, and I watched The Wrong Guy. Both were excellent, but The Wrong Guy is just on another level. I highly recommend those if you're into that kind of offbeat humor. But sometimes, this happens to me on weekends if I just spend the whole weekend holed up working on projects. What ends up happening is I get to a point where, like, even if I make good progress, like this weekend I did a lot on the Live Retro stuff for Rustro Boy. Made a lot of progress on that core, and I'm fairly happy with how that's going now. But then I started looking at that and then some of the other projects that I kind of want to work on, and they start kind of nagging me in my head, and it gets to be kind of unhealthy, I think, because then I stop kind of relaxing. So I thought I needed to play some video games. And I thought, let's play Earthbound, because this was I had a lot of fun streaming this last weekend. And I think it'd be fun to stream the rest of this too. Like as I do the whole playthrough. Or maybe I won't do a whole playthrough, I don't know. Depends on how much I enjoy the rest of this game. But it's looking pretty promising right now. As long as I can remember to not die. By the way, hi guys in the chat. Local hoster, Desi Used, Nicholas NT. It's actually Nicholas M. Taylor. I said this enough last week, but you guys need to follow him because he's my brother and he's awesome. Well, you should probably follow him because he's awesome, but, you know. WizardTube, Agent 07, Metal Voice, Chief Detector. How's it going, guys? Happy New Year, WizardTube. Hope things are going well with your Game Boy emulator. If I'm remembering that correctly. Oh, that was one thing I wanted to do. I rewatched the VOD for this last time, and actually I thought the game audio was a bit too loud compared to my voice. So I'm gonna turn that down a little bit, and you guys can yell at me if that sucks. Also, I adjusted my frame rate slightly, so it's 59 point whatever for NTSC rather than 60 even. Should match up a little bit better with the signal, even though, you know, it's still gonna look the same. I did actually, before I get into this, I actually did want to see if I could get one of the de-interlace filters to work well. I haven't had that great of luck with the capture card, to be honest. But I'd kind of rather have it do proper interlace video than have a really bad filter. So, I mean, this is the signal we're getting out of the device. Flickery pixels and all. But yeah, time to play some games. Particular a game like this, which I think I can unwind pretty well with. By the way, 8 Little Bits. I normally don't talk about what I'm going to stream the following next few streams, because I usually don't know what they're going to be until like the day of. And I kind of like having that freedom, but every so often someone comes up with a good idea. Or there's like some obvious thing to do, like, oh, I just released a demo, so I'm going to do a breakdown stream. 8 Little Bits pointed out that sort of audio and emulators is kind of a black box of voodoo and magic. And I would like to sort of dispel some of that. And it's actually particularly relevant to doing the Lib Retro integration for Rustro Boy anyway, because we have to touch a lot of that stuff. It turns out, due to the way that I've done the architecture of Rustro Boy, it turns out to be really easy to support a front end like Lib Retro in that regard. And LibRetro has also gotten a lot more solid and stable with regards to differing sample rates and frame rates and whatnot. So it actually seems like it's pretty good. Anyway, I'd like to kind of talk about, on Thursday's emulator stream, a lot about how we handle timing and I/O generally in Rustro Boy, because I really am happy with the architecture there. There's a couple details with, I think there's some extra data allocations and copies that it doesn't need to do. But in terms of like how we handle timing and synchronization to the outside world, and sort of the general architecture, I think the details are really good there. And I think I can present that in a way where I can sort of describe how audio works on a hardware level, and then segue into some of the motivations behind the design in Rustro Boy. So I totally want to describe that on Thursday. So I'm just mentioning that now just because it's rare that I know what I'm going to do. So if you guys are interested in that, I think that'd be cool. And then because I want to do that, like describe it in the hardware level, describe it in Rustro Boy, and then either before or after that, the Rustro Boy part, describe what different audio APIs on the host platform we'll expect. Kind of show you guys the justification of why we did it that way, because I'm relatively happy with that architecture, and I think it just makes a lot of sense. Generally, audio at the hardware level for a lot of these old platforms is a lot simpler than you might think, but in terms of like synchronization with the host machine and stuff, it does require a bit of thought, and it's one of those things that's kind of niche. So if you haven't thought about it, then it may not be very obvious. But I think if the designs are explained in the right way, I think the design that we have in Rustro Boy is kind of a natural conclusion that I'm pretty happy with. And then I also want to talk about some of the improvements that I want to make while doing the LibRetro core, because I've ran into a couple things with that this weekend that I know I can improve on. So, but that's mostly details with the implementation of this architecture rather than the architecture itself. The architecture itself still seems to hold up, and I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. Enough chit chat. This menu feels like crap. Alright. So, what happened last time I played this, last weekend, is made very little progress. We're in the first town. We saw some aliens. We had a friend that was a bee that got killed by our stupid friend's mom. This game's awesome. And then I went and pulled a bunch of money out of the ATM and talked to my dad and saved them, or did all that stuff. And then bought a bunch of food and then forgot to eat the food. And so I was in a situation where I died. And then that's when I stopped streaming. So that's where we are now. See, I have a fair amount of money, but I haven't bought a bunch of stuff. There's also a bunch of dialogues that we ended up kind of missing, but I'm not too worried about that, actually. Because I don't think they were consequential to the progression of the game. But since I don't remember which rooms we were in and stuff, I'm probably just going to explore a bit too. Again, for those of you guys who've not watched me play this game before, it's very likely that you haven't, because I haven't played this game since the 90s. And I remember very little of it, which kind of makes it an ideal game to stream, in my opinion, because part of the thing I like about my streams is that I'm often a noob in a lot of regards. Kind of learning as I go. And I like that. Oh, I like this dog. Thanks, dog. I should actually go to the drugstore anyway, though. I just love how whimsical this game is. It's just really cute. No problem here. So we learned that my little stats window flashes when I go over one of these that is going to help me. Yeah, this game was not released in Europe. I had to drag out one of the Japanese Super Nintendos to play it even. Probably would have worked on the European one, but still. Still yo-yo. I believe in my my strategy enough. Alright, this is where he tells us the flash thing, isn't it? Oh no, equipable items. Right, flashes if it's more powerful, otherwise it'll turn black. Thanks, Mom. That was helpful. I'm gonna save a lot now. Escape this, how's it going? I remember from talking to someone else that this Polygirl can use magic. Probably one of these houses. I wanted to find the bakery, though. Probably down there at the other food place. It looks like bread. But I'm gonna take a long way, I think. And avoid the sharks. Matt RVA, how's it going? I don't think I went in Town Hall last time. What a helpful stranger, I think. Mayor is not a popular dude. She didn't stop me. But he did. Sharks. I might die already. Yeah. It's okay. I saved after I bought stuff. Couple things. I don't think I was at full HP when that battle started. Which is the same mistake I made last time. Yeah, I think the perspective is interesting because it's really inconsistent. Which just adds to like the whimsical feel of the game. Alright, I'm gonna buy a burger or something. So I can at least gain some HP. And then I want to go to the bakery. Seems like fries might be a good idea. No, I did not want anything else. Gotta remember how to use this menu. Try the bag of fries. Well, my HP's 48 now. That seems useful. See if I can get there without any sharks. May not have any money to buy anything useful now, though, but... I get a cookie. Now I'm broke. Let's see if that's good enough. Yeah, I think they're both just... Like, the word is delightful. Magic butterfly. I want to go in here. I'm going to shoot to the Pogo Punk. That seems good. Nice thing is I'm fighting one at a time, so I can take a couple hits here. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I got a hamburger. That's useful. Oh, okay. Well, he's not gonna fight me, so That's pretty great. That's funny, Chief Detector. Sure. Come back after you finish Earthbound. Okay. Just a rockin' dude. Let's get it on, Spanky. Yeah, that's annoying that he called for help. But it really only takes a couple hits, and I can take a couple hits. So I think I'm alright. As long as I make sure to eat food. I think too I got this life up thing. That seemed worth it. Okay, so there wasn't actually anything I could do here. I was hoping to show these guys a lesson. Oh dear. Come here. I engage the Pogo Punk. If I had a nickel for every time I've had to say that, I'd have 1 nickel. So this is a lot easier when I can control the what are you doing to me, Frank? Well, I can control the circumstances of the engagement and also eat food and not die. Level up. Nice, Chief Detector. Happy to hear it. Super basic, but I'm glad it's useful. I missed him. Shredded fiercely on a skateboard. I just really like that's his attack, is he's shredding. Yes, man, Junior. That's so great. This is great. Oh, what a waste. Alright. This is where I have to be a little careful now. Yeah. So I already queued up an attack. now that he's gone, I'm gonna use my life up. That's useful. Now I can shoot the Yes Man Jr. Alright, got enough of the basic mechanics of this game to make some progress, I guess. Well, now I would like to get to a phone. Are they gonna chase me? Let's see if the hospital has a phone. Is this where that guy ran into the bathroom? Can't remember where that was. Boom. Baseline. Let's go get Dirty Kid. Dog's a punk. Ouch. Ep.008 was my first computer. That's kind of a hard question to answer. So my family had computers like the whole time I was growing up. My dad was into computers. Huh. So we had computers. I don't remember what a lot of those machines were at the time, just because I didn't really interact with them that much. But some old IBM compatibles, I'm sure. The thing that, like, piece of electronics I remember spending a ton of time on though as a kid was the Super Nintendo. We had Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, we had Game Boys. So we had a lot of like game systems as kids, me and my brother. The first actual computer, actually I remember around the time we got our N64, so this would have been 97, 98. We got a, jeez, I think it was a 75 megahertz machine or something. I don't remember. But that time it was a PC. And that was the first computer that I remember really using a lot. But of course our family shared it. But the first computer that I owned, like myself, was like a Pentium 2 at like 266 megahertz or something. That would have been around 04 that I got a hold of that. And it was because my dad worked, I don't remember where he worked at that time, but he ended up getting some old machines because wherever he worked, they were getting rid of them. So he got a hold of them and then ended up giving one to me and my brother. Oh wow, Chief Detector. That's cool though. I had MMX, but I would not have known what that was. At that point, I was coding in Blitz Basic, which is where a lot of like the demo scene stuff started for me. Oh, I bet. Yeah, at that time I didn't play too many games. mean, the machine I had then was kind of dated, just for its time already. So I wasn't playing a lot of games on it. Plus, we had consoles for that purpose. But I was learning a lot of programming at the time, so it was super helpful. Yeah, the hotel music's awesome here. I really like that girl's line. Hey, skeleton. Oh, that's cool, Agent. Yeah, I didn't get into C64 until like 2008, when Edge of Disgrace came out, and that's when I started researching those older machines. We had an NES at some point too, but that was after we had the Super Nintendo. If I'd had one of those machines as a kid, I probably would have gotten into programming earlier, but I mean, I did start programming when I was like 9 or something, so. I mean, super basic stuff, but that's what you do at an early age. So it's pretty cool. But I remember back when I had that first PC, it was my brother actually that got a hold of a bunch of like emulators and stuff. That's kind of where my fascination with that started. But at that point, it was mostly demos and doing visual effects that I was interested in. That's both. Another big step to the right or something? I wanted to go there. That doesn't lead me anywhere, I'll buy a hint. Yeah, I didn't get an Amiga 500 as well till this last summer. And I just admittedly just have not fallen in love with that machine. I'm more interested in doing stuff on the MSX than that, to be honest, right now. Much to Hoffman's dismay. But I think in terms of old school machines at this point, like Super Nintendo was kind of the one that I always really wanted to do, just because that meant a lot to me as a kid. So back in 2014, when I did a couple demos for that, that was kind of gonna be my big thing, I guess. And I still have a lot of tech that I built for that I would like to use in a bigger Super Nintendo demo at some point, but at this point, the C64 is kind of the machine that I like most, in terms of doing that kind of coding for. Just because I think it's in a lot of ways the hardware is a lot simpler, but it's very exploitable, and I really enjoy that, like learning the hardware at a very fundamental level, and then thinking about what you can do with it. Knowing about how it actually works rather than how it was meant to be used. And I just really enjoy that way of thinking, and also I just like how that hardware works. Because it's actually relatively elegant in its simplicity. And exploiting that is kind of what makes it fun to do those effects. So C64 ends up being my favorite old school machine that I've coded for. And there's definitely more stuff I want to do on there. That's really cool, Chief Detector. There's actually some, if you can find the old Dark Bit Factory forums, a bunch of my old demos are there, but they're not under the name Ferris. I don't want to say the name they're under. They're floating around, and I go and I back that stuff up whenever I run into it, just to have. I'm gonna buy a hint. By the way, if you guys in the chat know what I'm supposed to be doing, please don't tell me. Because this is kind of meant to be a fresh playthrough for me, so. Okay, so he's telling me to talk to Frank. Which is interesting because they told me I couldn't join that group. Maybe there's another way to talk to Frank. So where was that? That's the right here, I think. Nah, I think I'm wrong. Yeah, for the C64 stuff, it's assembler. In particular, kick assembler. And then a lot of that stuff is data preparation. So doing a lot of Rust for that as well. Like a lot of that stuff is just data preparation. I might die. Yeah, dead. The name I went under on the Dark Bit Factory forums, it was Thygrion, Thygrion. It's hard to actually find the old forums too, but they're out there. So a funny thing about dying like that is I've actually saved money now because I technically haven't paid for that hint. Oh yeah, they're over here. If I tell him no. Oh, there you go. I should have tried that. Yeah, I think you're right, Skeleton. This guy's shady. Actually, if you guys go on my GitHub, there's a repo called Butterball, where I gathered up some of that Blitz Basic code and started making a compiler for it in Rust. It's just a compiler and an interpreter, and it's not great. But I have it, and one of the old demos I did that time called 3D Overload doesn't run in there yet, but at some point I'll pick that up. Just something I worked on for a couple weeks. Ooh, boss time. The music is awesome. Alright, how do we do this? I'm gonna shoot to Frank. He brandished a knife and did a lot of damage to me. That's not great. Okay, I can't do another life up. Let's see if I can eat a burger or something. My guts went down by 1 because he said something nasty. Alright. Is there a way I can do... I need to buy like a PP up kind of thing. In the meantime, let me hit him. Because he doesn't do that much damage realistically. I can take a few hits before I have to worry about this. Or not. Yeah, or not. Okay. I might grind a bit. Yeah, that's the one skeleton. There's a Blitz Basic compiler with some of the code I wrote from when I was about 13. Blitz Basic made a lot of that stuff really easy, which is why I was able to do that kind of stuff. It's really fun. Cool time. It was especially that summer of, I think, 2005, where I just coded so much stuff. All a bunch of just, like, crap 2D effects, but they were super fun. And I did, when I made that repo, I tried not to modify any of that code that I found and just try to run it as is, but there were a couple things that made it hard to do a parser for that I would just adjust it in a couple places, and that was about it. Mostly out of laziness. Other than that, it's all the same. What I would like to do actually at that point is use that as a good case for doing a I've seen a couple libraries in Rust now for generating code, like jitting stuff, and it would be a good opportunity to try one of those out, I think, in order to make that faster, because the interpreter in there is just really slow. It was also the first time I used nom at scale, and I would totally not do that again. But it worked well enough for that. I don't want to fight this guy, but... So the yes-mans actually seem to do more damage. Maybe not. Alright, I'm gonna die if I don't eat something quick, which I may not have enough time to do now. Yeah. Oh wow, that was lucky. The thing about nom is it's just hard to work with, and it can be really inconsistent with like edge cases. Like it'll give you like a bunch of the parsers will match incomplete patterns if it's at the end of the file, which might ruin the combinational stuff. So for example, I think it was the or thing actually returns incomplete if any of the parsers inside it return incomplete, which is a problem at the end of a file because you might have a parser that actually finds a complete pattern and then other ones that do incomplete, and you want to accept that complete pattern. That's why I actually had to change some of those source files as well, just because there were corner cases in nom that just didn't handle that well. So that was really annoying. Plus doing anything with that many macros is particularly frustrating because, like, the error messages you get when you do things wrong, which you inevitably do as you're iterating on that kind of project, are just not very helpful. So I wouldn't reach for that again, to be honest. Especially when ones like combine work really well. Wow. Ouch. I haven't tried Lollipop. I did try Rust Peg at one point, and I actually kind of liked that better. But its Combine is the one that I end up using these days. Where was the pharmacy? Is that where I can get stuff to raise my PP? Because that would be awesome. Yeah, Rustpeg was like that as well. Too late, skeleton. This is happening. This guy mostly just had this stuff. You know, I might actually see if I can... I did buy the yo-yo instead of the T-ball bat. I might buy the T-ball bat, actually. I don't? Oh, I only have $9 right now. Whoops. There's an ATM over here. You know, I can't afford that cheap bracelet. I'm gonna do it. I just talked to the ATM machine. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't just take cash out of my bank account yet. Maybe there is a good reason, but with the information I have now, there isn't, so just gonna do it. 9 to 14. Like, that should be helpful. A 50% increase in my defense should definitely be helpful. Also, what is this? I haven't tried the Escargot Express, I think. Oh, okay. I guess I use that as a... as like item storage. The other thing with parsers is if you have a good lecture generator, you can also just do recursive descent, which sometimes is nice. I definitely prefer to have something in like a expression grammar kind of style, BNF kind of style, because it's better self-documentation, and it tends to be a little easier to maintain. But there are cases where recursive descent is like the only good option if you're like really performance limited. Like we maintain a couple different compilers at work where speed is actually pretty critical, and there we just have to do recursive descent. But then there are other compilers that we also do at work where the balance is a lot different. So I'm trying to refactor to change some of that stuff. $27 to the S-band, so that's way more than I was doing before. These guys are doing a lot less damage to me. Those are definitely good things to buy. I like that the... Oh, wow. I like that the Pogo Punk just falls down every so often. By the way, I forgot to mention. I mentioned it in the chat before I started streaming. I'm at 1,000 followers now on Twitch. That's awesome. So thank you guys for that. I'm just surprised. But it's that's a pretty cool milestone. Partay, indeed. I really need to get on like the custom emotes and stuff. I have reminders for it. I've just been I want to say that I've been trying to catch up with other stuff, but really I've just been not prioritizing it. And I should do that. I like the idea of just like the battle pausing for me to eat a hamburger before they continue to beat me up. Thanks, Sheep Detector. Oh, wow. It's getting serious now. It is, Skeleton. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's also probably not fun to beat someone up while they're eating. Just seems like it'd be a lot messier than in the alternative. Maybe they're like me and they're just like super bugged by like chewing noises. That could be. Yeah, good point, SK Tess. One kilo followers. Yeah, you're right. It is the Kibby. Right now, I'm at 1 kilo followers. Soon I'll be at 1 Kibby followers, I hope. I might die. At least he became tame, so I'm more likely to survive. Alright, he didn't shred that fiercely, so we're okay. I don't think this will take that much grinding, actually, to do this, especially now that I bought that better equipment. Should be in pretty good shape. Comparatively, at least. Keep forgetting that they're not open. Here, dude. Let me fight you. Once again, not that fiercely. These guys have like 50 or 60 HP, and that's about it. He's only at 25. Yeah, I'll be fine. Yeah, I've actually gone through a lot of my food now, though. And cookies are not doing that much. Oh, that's awesome, Chief Detector. You gotta tell me how that is. I still have the old pre 1.0 Rust ebook on my Kindle. I like that my dad just keeps giving me money. to the point where money has not been an issue yet. Oh, wow. That's a pre-order. Smile, smile. I like to imagine that when it says smile, smile, she's like really showing off her smile. No, I did not want fruit juice. Oh, dang it. Alright, let's see if that's enough to go beat up Frank. Oh wow, skeleton. Yeah, it's cool to see those coming up. I've actually been digging into... Actually, I'll show you the book I just finished. It was awesome. It's called The Hardware Hacker. It's by Bunny. And it's a lot of like stuff that was on his blog and also some other personal recollections. But it's just he talks about different projects he's done, lining up supply chains, just a bunch of different stuff. It was all very, very interesting to read about. So I finished that, and now I've been going through a lot of my computer architecture book again, just refreshing myself on a lot of that stuff. Because I'll probably build a CPU on an FPGA soon. Uh-oh. I forgot to eat my food again. Oh, nice. Wow. That's helpful. Callbacks in Rust is surprisingly finicky. A few different kinds of more obscure syntax to go through. You have to learn about the storage for it to really make a lot of sense. That would have went really well. Oh, it still did. Nice. I mean, one of the things about like Rust functions is that they're not like they're different kinds of objects than you would have in C#. So it's not just a reference; it's a fat pointer and some other details. Returning them from functions is another thing. Yeah. Alright, so I'm doing more damage to him and he's doing less to me. Although, I can only really get hit one more time with one of those, if at all. So this might actually be pretty bad. Wow, okay. So that wasn't enough. I wonder if I just do like attack hamburger, attack hamburger, attack hamburger, because I don't know what his HP is either. Oh, really? That's awesome. Happy to hear that. Yeah, I'm also addicted to rest in that sense. I've been using it almost exclusively for a lot of my personal projects now. For quite some time as well. Yeah, that Whatev guy, he does really good work. Yeah, I sold like ownership and borrowing to my colleagues, as in they basically save you time, so you can work on more personal projects. It's all the stuff that you know how to do in C++, but you don't want to because it's annoying to keep track of the details and it gets kind of messy. That was basically enough to sell it to the colleagues that I sold it to. And then it was enough to get the ball rolling, so they started selling it to each other, and I just got to sit back and do one of these. Hey, Murimasa, how's it going? Okay, beat him. Jacob the Lucario, how's it going? Got some good stuff there. Puff, puff, puff. Frankie Stein Mark II. Oh. Oh no. Alright. Let's see what it does. I'm a bit concerned about this, to be honest. But if I take, like, fruit juice or something... Alright, 14 damage. Then I could take another couple of those. Exactly, skeleton. Play a little conservatively here. Ouch. Oh, nice. That was helpful. Ha! I lucked out there. Fail-proof Frank is now just failure Frank. That's the right attitude. I'm gonna get magic. Oh, thanks, monster. Behind the touring entertainer shack. Alright, so that's where I get that key. Okay, let's... Before we do anything else, let's have a hamburger. Although, can I stay at the hotel? Because if that is a more cost-effective way to restore everything, then I should definitely do that. Let's find out. This music is great. Yeah, I'll do it. Assuming it'll give me all HP and PP. Little bird chirp is priceless. Lots of bird chirps. How adorable. How am I doing, by the way? I'm doing great is how I'm doing. Every time. Because you have to talk to the phone, you have to check the ATM. Sounds super obvious when you say it, but surprisingly easy to forget the difference in this game. Alright, now I need to go to the town hall, talk to the mayor. Get that key, do the stuff. Stupid up the sharks, you're the talk of the town. Nice. How convenient. You're welcome, you piece of crap. I mean, sir. B.H. Perkle. That's exactly what I did. This guy's a classic. Yes. You will definitely be able to avoid any kind of responsibility, sir. What's my opinion on Logan Paul? I don't have one. Yeah, this guy's a classic. All right. Oh, magic butterfly. I still haven't realized what that actually does. I need to check my stats whenever that happens. Now I don't think it was very useful because I had full everything when I got the butterfly, but let's fight this dog. Oh, dog's gone. So I guess the enemies only exist when they're going to be on screen. At some point I'll be strong enough to just skip these fights. Yeah, there we go. 3 EXP isn't much, but maybe the cookie's worth doing this stuff. Yeah, that mayor's no nonsense, I'll give him that. I like how convoluted that is. The bird left a present. Inside the present, there was another item. Did we really need that? Alright, there we go. Sweet. I just want to sit here in this music for a sec. Yeah, exactly. Look what I was doing. That was it. That was the shack. Really, Mary Massa? Thanks, man. Rowdy Mouse. Sounds like a party. $73.25. What does it do? What does it do? $73.25. So it just made me relax. I don't know what that means. Hey, Rowdy Mouse. I'm gonna get you. Alright, so if 12 damage is the best that these guys can do, not too worried about that. Yeah, it might be right, Skeleton. At least didn't recharge any HP. That could definitely be it. Might also be like a status clearing thing, but I'd kind of be surprised if that were the case because, like, I haven't really had any status ailments yet. Ooh, what's this? Where's this go? So I know I skipped that big door, but it was because I wanted to see if there was something else I could do over here. I have to go back there. Oh, I should have bought more hamburgers. Oh well. Basically auto fight these guys, I think. Unless I just got like ridiculously unlucky. I just don't think it's gonna happen here. How hard would it be to make a hardware device to control SNES RAM like while the SNES was running? That might not be very easy. But if you look up Def Param on Twitter, he has built such a device. And I don't really understand the details of that. But I know that he's definitely done something like that. Def Param is in DEFPARIM. Also very helpful and friendly guy. If you want to bug him about how it works. I'll type it. Def Param. I figure I can use my cookies. Clear those out of my inventory. Yeah, no worries. I think his name is Evan. Okay, I'm just skipping doors left and right now. Yeah, I saw this little bug. This little pixel is following me. I engaged Black Antoid in its cohort. Okay, these are actually more powerful than the Rowdy Rowdy mice. Life of Alpha even. Oh wow. Uh-oh. Oh wow. Smash. Okay. Oh baby. I like that says that when I level up. I realize the power of Psy Rockin' Alpha. That's awesome. Alright, I'm gonna go back and hit some of these doors. These sounds. So you can't do an encounter while you're all flashy like that. Psy Rocking Alpha is probably my favorite 90s anything name for anything. Okay, I'm actually super low on HP. I didn't even realize. These guys got a lot of critical hits on me. But that's okay, because now would be a good time to use a hamburger. Okay, that's all that was in here, I guess. Well. Let's go to that big opening that's over here. Grind on these mice on the way there, which just did not sound as good coming out as I thought it would sound. Okay, these guys are getting a lot of critical hits on me. It's still not doing that much damage overall, but it's getting annoying. I'll use my cookie here. Oh wow, that was a lot of ants. Oh, it's actually attack slugs. Okay, I'm gonna do. Oh, Rockin' Alpha is a fence to all enemies. Alright, since I don't know what they're gonna do, I'm gonna do a life up. Okay, not much. But I'll try rocking on this just because there's so many enemies. Well, that's cool. Wow. That was a lot of damage. These guys must have low defense. Cool. Psy way OP. Uh-oh. Yeah, with those critical hits. They've just been really rowdy. A skip sandwich. There's also a chiptune artist named Skip Sandwich, and now I understand what that means. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to bash these things because yeah, I figured they'd be pretty weak. I'll save the PP and just attack them. Take more time, but if they're only gonna do like if they do 2 damage to me every time, then they're only gonna do a total of like 15 damage to me altogether. So it's like 2 factorial or 4. I'm bad at math. Never mind. My favorite YouTuber, I go back and forth. I really like Lazy Game Reviews because it's just so fun to see a lot of retro tech and some guy who's just a complete child whenever he gets new hardware, which I totally also am. So I really like watching Lazy Game Reviews. So if I had to name my favorite YouTuber, that might be who it is. Although lately I've just been watching a ton of GDQ. All the runs I didn't get to catch live. Yeah, 8-Bit Guy's really cool. Metal Jesus Rocks is also in that family. Also really good stuff. That might be a problem. We'll see. I also like Tech Mode. Retro Man Cave. I know there's more of those, but yeah, I really like a lot of those people. How much does? Okay, that's the only one I can use. I wanted to see how much. I'll eat a cookie. Oh, nice. That's probably one of the slugs. There's so many. It just makes sense just to attack these guys. No, and I think it was I watched an awesome video on an N64 HDMI mod. Let me see who that was. The thing is, I tend to like a lot of videos on YouTube, so if you just like look at my likes on Ferris stream stuff, you'll see what I'm watching a lot of lately. Ben Heck, of course. How could I not mention Ben Heck? My Life in Gaming. My Life in Gaming has some really cool stuff. Where's my likes? Actually, I don't know how to get to my likes. My channel. JPerm, if you guys are into Rubik's Cubes, JPerm has some really great videos. Rashad EB does awesome metal covers of mostly video game stuff, but he also does some originals that I really like. I follow a lot of demo sceners like Ed.008, CPDT, Conspiracy. DM Cubing I also like if you guys are into Rubik's Cubes. He does a lot of like really good teardown videos of the cubes, talking about different materials. He does different mods that he plays with. Baggers has some really cool Lisp stuff. ProZD, I'm just a sucker for that stuff. Lofty Pursuits is another good one. If you guys ever want to watch just like really mesmerizing videos of candy being made. So yeah. That's just a few in that list. Lofty Pursuits, I'll just type the name. They do hard candy, and it's just super, super mesmerizing to watch. I'll probably play other retro games too. The thing is that I mostly do programming streams, but I do wanna do a little more gaming just because I want to play more games myself, just to relax a bit more. So we'll see. I don't have anything in mind yet though, but I'm sure I'll play other ones. I'm always down to play Chrono Trigger, for example. That's a game I'm just super familiar with, so that would be a very different experience watching than me kind of bumble my way through a game like this. But yeah. There's also games like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask that I just can't play to a certain degree anymore just because I know too much about their speedruns. But I would still love to do that. Oh, wow. You know, a game I've actually been wanting to play, and they have it at the local Japanese import shop, but they only have a PAL version. I don't have a PAL N64 yet. Is Star Wars Episode 1 Racing. We had it when we were kids. And somehow our N64 stuff is gone. We don't really know what happened to it. To be honest, I think my brother took it with him when he moved once, and then it got lost in the shuffle, which I would not be mad about. I just, we don't know what happened to it. Like a lot of the systems that we actually had around that time. That is unfortunate. Oh, that's actually super annoying. That's gonna put me back pretty far. Especially because I kind of grinded going that weird route through there. But let's see. If I buy more stuff before going in the cave, that should be helpful. I did mean to do that anyway. I'm actually pretty annoyed I died there. That's just me being reckless, though. Yeah, we played a lot of Rogue Squadron on the N64 as well. And that was a super, super fun game. That's another one I would love to play again. I actually didn't know they had that for PC. Thanks, Murimasa. That just happened. I'm pretty happy about it. I got most of my followers, especially on YouTube, pretty quickly after I started streaming, actually. I think people were just really interested in seeing that N64 emulator project I was working on at the time. Oops. But since then, where am I going? Going to the hotel. That was before I started streaming regularly, and my videos would get like a lot more views at that time too. But ever since I started streaming more regularly, the number has just been slowly ticking upwards. But that rate has actually seemed to have grown recently. Oh, I hope I have enough money for this, actually. Yeah, I do. Nice. I don't pay too much attention, though, to my streaming numbers. because I get a lot of other benefits than that for doing these streams. One of the main reasons I keep doing them is because it keeps me working on certain projects like on a weekly basis and thinking more about what I'm doing every week in a way that I really like. So it adds a little bit more structure to my personal projects. And I really appreciate that these days. And I've also gotten a ton of like networking benefits and stuff from doing the streams. So it's been a kind of a no-brainer to keep doing them. Even though compared to a lot of other streamers that do mostly games or whatever, then it hasn't grown that fast. But compared to a lot of other live coders, it's actually grown pretty fast. which I just find interesting. Plus, like stuff that was really popular comparatively, like when I built the Virtual Boy testing hardware, people really liked that, it would seem. And it's really fun that I can do stuff like that and then share it with an audience. So I'm really happy in general with the whole situation. You know, another game that I actually never played at the time but would like to play now. Final Fantasy VII, it's actually two games. Final Fantasy VII and Chrono Cross. Really like to play both of those games. It's actually kind of a funny story. When I was about 10, we were on vacation on the coast of Oregon. We used to do that every year. And at a garage sale, this would have been, geez, 2000, 2001. And at a garage sale, I picked up a non-working PlayStation for $3 because it didn't work. And I was really into taking stuff apart at the time. I couldn't fix stuff at that time. What do I want to throw away? Well, nothing if I'm just getting a cookie. Yeah, do that. I abandoned the cookie. But yeah, I would always just take stuff apart just because I liked looking at the insides of stuff. That hasn't changed, obviously. But I opened up this PlayStation that I got for $3. And I don't know if someone kicked it or what, but there was a board, I think it was, I don't remember at the time, but there was just a plug that had a few wires just plugged into the board, and it was just loose. It was like tilted up, like, I don't know, the thing must have been dropped or something. Plugged it in, the thing worked fine. So that's how I got my $3 PlayStation in around the year 2000. And I actually think that's one of the things that always, like those kind of experiences kind of early on in my life always taught me to at least look at stuff. Because a lot of the times there is really dumb stuff like that wrong with that stuff. But yeah, at that time it was just a no-brainer because it was just something I could take apart. And the fact that I was able to fix it was pretty cool. I don't think we ever bought any, like it didn't come with controllers or games or anything. There was a friend that I had met while we were on that vacation, like a couple rented condos down, who had, you know, the stuff to actually test the system. So I went and did that. But I think I still have that PlayStation. I think I packed up a ton of systems this last time I was at my mom's, so I can start shipping them out out here to my apartment. And I think the PlayStation was in there, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. I went through so many of those things that I just can't remember. Or packed up so many systems, that is. Alright, I better not die now. That's awesome, cheese detector. Yeah, it's really cool when stuff like that works out. That's the funny thing. I mean, I've also done the opposite, where like I've attempted to fix things and then broken them. Like I attempted to mod one of my Super Nintendos so I could do 2 switches on the back, one for the CIC and the other one for the for switching region. I totally broke that. It's one of the ones back here. Don't know which one, but I kept the case and everything because the way I installed the switches and stuff turned out really nice. But yeah, I messed something up in there. Also did some really stupid stuff, like in my first C64, I blew the fuse. I don't remember what I shorted on it, but I shorted something and blew the fuse in there, and then just soldered a wire over the connection instead of finding the right fuse. So that's kind of funny. Don't do that. I actually threw that C64 out this last time I was at my mom's. There just wasn't anything I could salvage from it. And like shipping it out here wasn't worth it to me anymore. Thing was pretty busted up, like I really kind of ran that thing into the ground. And again, I bought that when I was like 17. Yeah, I totally could have sold it for $3 on eBay. Biomenace, I've never heard of that. Alright. Hey, there's a foot. There's just a foot up there. Is that what the big step is? That's pretty funny, if that's the case. Oh, really? Hadn't realized. That's cool. I will gladly take this present. Yeah, let's just take a random hamburger we find in a present in a cave. Seems like a good plan. Speaking of which, I'm probably gonna eat a whole pizza after this. It's been one of those weekends. I'm actually super happy, by the way, with how the Lib Retro front end to the Rust Boy is going. First of all, Sebert did a really good job doing initial implementation. I just cleaned a bunch of it up. Because I think it was like the first Rust project he'd ever done even, which is really cool. But I just cleaned it up and it's looking pretty stable actually so far, for at least for what it supports. But I'll show that off on Thursday. Although it does seem like the current RetroArch implementation doesn't always listen to pixel format callbacks, which is actually really annoying. So I need to dig in, see if there's something weird going on there. But I also started talking to the people in the LibRetro Discord, and they're actually really nice. I don't know what I expected, but they're really friendly. And we're also pretty open to having a Rust project as one of the cores that they ship with RetroArch, which is actually pretty cool. Because I would love for Rust Boy to be that kind of thing. Ooh, that's sparkly. I better eat a hamburger before I'll eat a bread roll. I'm talking to a sparkle. Of course this is hardware. This is the first Your Sanctuary location, but it's mine now. Oh, okay. Alright, I'm glad I ate a hamburger before this. Titanic Ant and his cohort. Look at that background. How cool is that? I really like how they did that, actually. I bet it works by like having, because you have that whole thing, like the whole model, and it kind of rotates between sort of two states, like along the diagonal. They probably have like the graphics for all of that, and you wouldn't have to have that many because there's a lot of empty space. Like the graphics for that, to do like one cycle of the animation, actually just one way, because you can just play it backwards to do the other one. It's probably like 8 frames or something. And then they probably just, per tile on the screen, select how far within that animation they are. Looks pretty good. Rockin'. Yeah, it totally is a revision logo. So I think this rockin' thing. Favorite video I did? That's a good question. You know, it might have to be the Virtual Boy debugger stuff that I did. Yeah, I guess it's 2 layers. When I looked at the edge, it looked like it was sort of a 3D animation thing, but now I think you're right, actually, John Hunter, that it's 2 2D layers that they're just moving with HDMA. The method I described would work if you had like texture at the sides and stuff, but just using 2 layers, of course, would be a lot smarter. Well, I can't do that anymore, so I gotta start bashing him. And he hurts me a lot because he took all my defense down that many times. This could be bad. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Alright. This game is actually surprisingly brutal is the word. In terms of the boss difficulty this early in the game. But, that's cool. I'm gonna buy one hamburger before I go in there, just to have an extra, since it shouldn't be too far out of my way. And then... I'll do that again. I might take a couple rounds through the cave this time in order to grind a bit before fighting him again. But I think also a strategy that could have worked there is if I was just eating hamburgers whenever he was doing the biting attack, that might have actually worked. Because I would imagine he would only do the biting attack a certain number of times before trying to reduce my defense again. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could imagine that being the case. Yeah, screw that cookie. Oh, I should definitely check out GameHead. That sounds cool. My favorite video game is Chrono Trigger. Although at this point I'm playing a lot of Mario Odyssey, and that's been really good. Breath of the Wild was also phenomenal. Ocarina of Time is also up there for me. Ocarina of Time is one that I experimented a bit with speedrunning like a year ago, and I would love to pick that up again too. I was just learning the any % route, so not a huge investment, but it was really fun. It concerns me that I have 0 PP. Did I not save after I stayed at the hotel last time? Because that won't do. So I'll have to go back there and do that. Oh, is that what the butterfly does? By the way, John Hunter, try not to tell me much. I'm enjoying this being my first playthrough. But it was not obvious what the butterfly did other than make me relaxed. Although, didn't I just run into one of those? Or was that on the last iteration? What do you mean, what, how? I never played this game. Or, well, I did in the 90s, but I don't remember any of it. Most of the time that I've been collecting it, my PP has been full. Actually, I haven't used it that much until that last boss. It wasn't obvious to me. It just told me that I was relaxed. I haven't played Overwatch. I've watched it a couple times. I find it really hard to get into. Overwatch isn't very appealing to me, to be honest. I played StarCraft for a while too, and I was really bad at it. I played Hearthstone, I was kind of good at it. Then I got frustrated with the lack of human interaction in a game like that. Dealing with a 51% win rate when you're really good and a lot of snarky sarcasm is just not very fun when you don't have face-to-face contact. So I quit playing Hearthstone. Started playing Netrunner with some folks from the office instead. That was a lot more fun. Netrunner I actually love as a card game. Why good luck for chill streams? Seems like a pretty chill stream to me. I totally pick the like the communities I stream to. I pick ones with a lot of watchers. Like I'll pick one that's like super accurate, like in this case Earthbound, or like emulator development or something. And then the other ones I just pick just because I have a lot of people in them. Dude, no spoilers, John Hunter. Do not spoil stuff. I do not want to know. I also really like Mirror's Edge and Mirror's Edge Catalyst, just in terms of games I like. Also, Doom 2016, so much fun. It's a kind of game though that I play very seldom because I have to get like really hyped up to be able to play it effectively. I'm one of those players that's not very tactical in that game. I pretty much just run around with the super shotgun, just get my face up in everyone's grill. And I really like that. It's really fun. But I have to like chug a couple energy drinks and stuff before I play it. I actually have not played that much of the old Doom. And to be honest, I don't think I will. I don't think there's much there in terms of playing it. Of course, the that style of rendering I've written a lot of back in the day, just because it was so much fun. I did that on the calculator that I had in college. Made an old Raycaster. Okay, so the skip sandwich is actually kind of useless. That was not very good. I will eat another hamburger actually, considering my HP is like 90 max. Thing is, I think to be honest, a lot of the magic of the old Doom would actually be lost on me at this point. Like if I had played it 15 years ago, even then it would have been late to have played that game, but it would have been like I would have been at the right sort of mental age to really fall in love with it, I think. I think a lot of it would just be lost on me now, to be honest. I do not know what the skip sandwich does except give me a little bit more HP. But don't tell me if it's anything more than that. I have to discover this. Star Wars or Star Trek? It really depends. I didn't watch that much Star Trek when I was a kid. Or more recently either. So I never really got into it that much. But I loved the 2009 movie that came out. It was just so good, I thought. The sequel was not. And so then, at that point, it definitely would have been Star Trek over Star Wars. But the most recent movie, Last Jedi, was just incredible. I thought it was so much fun. So I'm not really sure. It may be frustrating, John Hunter, but I'm enjoying playing through this while being ignorant. Makes it more fun for me. I can see that, Metal Voids. I actually want to play Kingdom Hearts too. That was a game I also just didn't play when it was new. Because I would have been around 8 or 9 when it was new, and I remember not wanting to play it because it had Seal Coaster. I remember not wanting to play it because it had Disney characters in it, and I just felt like I was over that. But now I would actually love to go back and play that. Okay, he's hurting me too much. Don't like eating a hamburger at this point, but I think it would be a bad idea not to. If it makes sense, I might even go back and forth here a little bit. What level I'm at? Yeah, seriously. I still find that so weird. So I may do a few laps through this cave so I can go save and also buy more hamburgers. Status. All right, I'm at level 11. Yeah, this costs 10 PP. Yeah, I'm probably too weak for this boss right now. So I'm gonna grind a bit. Oh, really? Isn't that Monkey Island? Did they buy Monkey Island? That's crazy. Another game series that I wish I had played at the time. But probably still holds up to some degree, at least for someone who likes point and click adventure games. Oh, I didn't realize that was a LucasArts IP. So yeah, I guess that would have been it. That's so weird. I'm gonna do another lap, go out and save, buy stuff. Just take all the encounters I can get. Bug. I like how these bugs can just climb up this rope. Probably just because there's just no walls on the map there. How much EXP do I get from these kind of battles? Can't imagine it's that much. I've been streaming on Twitch for about 2 years now. I would stream like, I mean, on average, once a month for like 6 months. And then I stopped for a while, and then the past year I've been streaming regularly, at least once a week, except a couple periods where I would take off for working on projects or whatever. So yeah, I guess it's been about 2 years. Yeah, in the past year, it's mostly been twice a week. Since about February, when I set up my Patreon, because that was a Patreon goal. Actually, the only goal I ever set up at that time. I haven't set up one since either. It's different because, like, so I have a full-time job. I'm a software developer, and I make enough that I live pretty comfortably. So the streaming thing isn't something that I'm that motivated to put a lot of resources into other than doing the streams themselves. So I'm pretty bad at taking advantage of stuff like Patreon or you know, finding ways to monetize or try to gain followers or whatever. Or I should say I just don't prioritize that in the same way that a lot of other streamers do. And it ends up working out pretty well for me. That it's just not something I put a lot of resources into. I suppose I could, but at the same time, it would take mental energy and focus away from other things, like the stuff I work on the stream. So it's kind of why I don't do that stuff. But I do want to do a little bit more now that I've started to get some subscribers and stuff. I would like to provide more of a reward for that, even if it's little things like custom emotes and stuff. I think that stuff is fun. Other than that, though, I set up those things, and people have been donating through both of those mechanisms. I'm super happy about that, but admittedly, they're pretty barren. Yeah, I'm gonna buy a bunch of hamburgers and stuff, so I don't really mind using another one of these. Living and working in Norway also helps in terms of the comfortability aspect of things. Pretty good place to be. The other thing that I think people tend to forget is that when I talk to them about the stuff like streaming, because I do get asked by some people, like, why don't you do that more? Why don't you put more energy into that stuff? And like, actually, my job takes up a lot of that energy, a lot of my mental energy per week. I mean, as it should, because it's a full-time job. But it's also a programming gig, so I spend a lot of time sort of on the off hours just thinking about stuff. And I'd rather have sort of keep my focus where it is and sort of stay on that course. And sort of use streaming as a way to open that up, to make those things a bit more social, rather than make that like a primary revenue source. So I guess the balance is just a little different. But streaming's working out pretty well for me, is the way I see it. But yeah, it's been about 2 years. At this point, too, now that I've been doing it so long and now that I have all the equipment, it's just so natural to just keep doing it. It's pretty low effort to do a stream like this. Like, just set it up because I have everything in my desk already. Although I have had to move things around a little bit just to make it comfortable to play the SNES. So I'll probably keep streaming this game for a little while before I move a lot of that setup. Just because it's easier to continue than to move everything again. Anyway. Great dog. Now they run from me. Because they learned their lesson. I like how you just get money in this game this way. Your dad just gives you money all the time. I'm probably not playing this game right, but I'm gonna happily continue in ignorance. Take out all my money, live off of hamburgers. Kind of like real life was for a while. Hey, Pyro. Oh, really? Oh, whoops. Oh, good. Didn't take me out of the game. I might actually take like a 5-minute break here. Yeah, I'm gonna take like a 5-minute break, so I'll be right back, guys. Hey, we're back. Made myself a little sandwich and ate it already. Alright, where I'm at. We'll do a couple more laps in that cave. Thanks, Hunter. Massa again. Nice. I definitely had not expected this game to be as grindy as it was. At least as it has been so far. Not that I have any disillusions about me playing this game well. But still. Which is kind of a bummer because I was looking for something a little more lighthearted. It just seems to be a disconnect between the gameplay and the humor within the game. Although, might be really satisfying once I progress a little bit more. We'll see. Because, I mean, the story is kind of the reward in these kind of games. It's not like it's a problem either. Still enjoying this. At some point, I would actually really like to make an RPG on Super Nintendo. Problem is, I just don't have the skills to do a lot of the asset pipeline stuff. Or make a lot of the assets, that is. But I know the strategy that I would use to implement it. I would do some kind of virtual machine for running things like cutscenes, and just generally the states of the games and the battle system. And then I would write implementations for that virtual machine on both the Super Nintendo and on a PC. And that way I can do a lot of the, a lot of the game development off of the system and just test it on there every so often, which I think would be the right way to do that. Oh, I definitely want to make my own engine, that's the thing. That's the part that I know that I would be interested in doing. And like the assets in the story is the part where I'd be lacking. But I could definitely do like engine and tooling. Also for the audio stuff. Would be a good excuse to finish that tool. So it'd be more about finding the right team, and honestly I'd probably have to be able to do it professionally, which is really unlikely. It is possible, but it's extremely unlikely that would ever happen. At least how things are for me right now. So that's their thing, these guys. They're pretty rowdy. Echo would be implemented if we finish the tracker, of course. But that's so low on the list of other things to finish before that. And I'm just not focusing on that project right now. There's a couple things with Echo that to drive it is really easy. To drive that hardware unit, but you need to make sure that you're not using, like, you need to set aside a certain amount of RAM for it to actually use as an internal buffer, and that takes away a lot of space from your samples, which that'd be annoying. And then you have to integrate that with the tooling so that it knows when, like, laying out samples and stuff to work around that. So I'd kind of want to have that automatic probably. And then, like, the size of that is of course variable, and that's going to depend on how much other memory you have free. So the whole... Oh, whoops. I do not want to throw anything away. And then you also have the echo parameters, and you would want to change those in a way that makes sense in a tracker setting. Probably as tracker commands. Like, you would have a tracker command to select what the current echo setting is. And then have sets of echo settings in the same way you would have, you know, sets of like instrument parameters that you would modify in some other part of the UI. I was also always imagining that you could sort of describe a filter curve with, like, points on the curve, and it would figure out the FIR filter parameters with that, and then show you what the actual curve would be, which would be probably quite different than than what you wanted to describe, but pretty accurate. Of course, the simplest UI for that is just text boxes for implementing the parameters there, but it's not that great to work with. So I mean, the short answer is of course I would have echo in that. The long answer is those are the things I'm thinking about when thinking about implementing that. But yeah, like I said, it's pretty unlikely I'd switch focus to that project anytime soon. Well, it's more like, because it does has a hardware FIR filter, and because it only has it's only 8 samples, then it's just very limited. But I'd like to give, like, a nice interface to that, even though it wouldn't be very precise. That's really the issue. It's not that it gives you something different to what you asked for, it's just that the parameters are actually imprecise. And they did it that way because it's, you know, less silicon. Because with an 8-tap FIR, tap, that's what I was looking for in my head, 8 taps. The 8-tap FIR, you basically need to do 8 multiplies. Although at that point in that pipeline, you can make a lot of assumptions about the values that are input and output from that multiplier, so it gets to be relatively, you know, simpler than a more general purpose multiply. But it's also a lot more gates than not having it. In fact, I think a lot of those run in parallel too. Or they may not have to. You know, if I'm doing another couple laps in here, I could totally just do one of these. I don't know why filter only affects the echo, but it definitely does. But you could have it affect the output of the system if you set the master volume all the way down and then the echo volume up. Because I think the mixer volume is separate from the echo volume. Could be wrong about that. I don't remember the signal flow. It's been years since I worked on that, but could do that, and then you could have the echo unit have a 1 sample delay, which you wouldn't notice, and then you basically have filter on the master. But again, then you start hurting because of your 8-tap filter is just not very precise. So I'm not sure how useful that setup would be. But you could do that, and you could have it. turn the feedback all the way down, and then it's just a pretty clean signal. But I guess they probably just determined that that was more useful on the Echo than it was on the Master. Because it is pretty nice with an Echo unit to be able to color the sound. Otherwise, it very quickly just sounds super tinny. So I guess they use it just to create better ambience. And then decided that it didn't really make that much sense on the Master. So only had it there. And I'm willing to bet also it was just too expensive to have on a per channel basis. In terms of number of gates. One of the things I always found annoying with working with certain kind of trackers is you want to expose a lot of stuff that changes global state, like global volume or echo parameters and that kind of stuff. And then you end up having to litter a lot of those commands throughout different patterns of your track, which in the case of our SNES tracker would definitely hurt compression. And it's also just messy to work with that stuff, but it ends up being better to expose that way than to not expose it in a lot of cases. But I always hated working with those kind of parameters. Part of the reason I put off features like that for so long. Because even the envelope parameters that we had set up, I wanted to do like an envelope visualizer and stuff, which would be pretty easy because you're just drawing a pretty basic curve. But I only ended up doing the text boxes for the raw values, at least to start off with. Which is fine as long as your musician's comfortable with hex. But the main thing that hurt me in that project was that I didn't do under redo early enough on in the project, so that when I had to sort of retrofit that stuff, it was just too deep of a change. And the way that I had used the observer pattern in a non-garbage collected language made it really painful to start doing all of that. So it basically warrants a rewrite, at least, of some of the lower level logic stuff. And I did start on some of that, but it was around the time that I moved to the US and started learning Rust, and a lot of things kind of piled up, and I lost interest in the project at that time, and then haven't picked it up just because it's been other things that are more interesting to me right now. So that's kind of just how that happens. I don't really feel that bad about that at the moment. Just how it is. No, it has like attack and decay and stuff. So it'd be nice to have that visualized, and like when samples, when a given sample's playing in the track, it'd be nice to show the position of, you know, all the ones that are playing all the different channels as they're playing, in order to get a better idea of how the curve is shaping the sound. So you want to have that kind of visualizer. I think it's linear. I don't remember if the decay was, or the release. But it's probably just linear. But yeah, you want to draw it mostly to get an idea of how long it's taking in relation to the sounds they're actually playing. would be nice to like overlay a sort of darkened representation of the sample that's being played through the envelope as well. Because the tracker did that. It separated. Actually, I don't think the first implementation did do that. But you want to separate sample data from the instruments, which is actually a problem because like ideally you'd have, for example, looping should be a parameter on the instrument, but due to the way that the BRR encoder in the Super Nintendo, or the BRR decoder in the Super Nintendo works, that's actually a bit in the BRR blocks of the sample, which is actually pretty annoying. So if you want like a sample and then a looping version of that sample, you actually have to duplicate the sample data. That sucks. What was I gonna look at? Let's look at my status. Yeah, I'll keep grinding a bit more. Yeah, 4 straight lines, I guess. 4 straight lines with whatever else you want to put there for reference, like time ticks to show how long it is. Play cursors for where all the other, if it's playing in the current track, like if the track is playing, you want to have cursors that show along that envelope where all the different samples are. If you want to have like a mask over it that shows how the envelope is shaping a particular sample, that actually also scales with the pitch of the sound, so fair amount of things to consider. But a lot of that stuff I just didn't do because I worked on so many other things on that project. Like drawing 4 straight lines is obviously pretty easy, but when you have to prioritize that between making saving work, it's pretty low on that list. But there was stuff that I was really happy with how I did it on there. For example, the project format was BSON encoded data. So BSON is like JSON, BSON. Maybe more people say JSON and BSON. It's just a binary format that is extensible because it's just like a container format, and then you can put named key value pairs inside there. And that actually I think is a really good middle ground for that, because you want to be able to have like different versions of like sample files and project files. And it becomes a lot easier to do that when you have an extensible format like that. And also the fact that it was binary just made a lot of sense. So I think there was some good engineering there. It's just kind of coded myself into a corner in some other aspects. Also using Qt as a front end is of course kind of a no-brainer, because I think that SNES GSS thing is Windows only. That kind of sucks. And you generally want to have some idea of like underlying architecture when you build a project with that many features and that many UI elements. Otherwise it just becomes a mess. I think the thing that would get me into that project again, honestly, is if I started coming up with better ideas for what our at least our next SNES demo is going to be like. I have some visual ideas, but I need to come up with more before I actually start working on that. But working on a demo and targeting a demo is, I think, the kind of thing that would resurrect that project, to be honest. And right now, the 64K stuff we're doing with Logicoma, as well as some other stuff, is just more enticing to me right now. In fact, I think I just got some light GitHub pressure from Ian just now. Yeah, I'll have to look at that later. I haven't been very on top of that stuff since coming back from vacation. Just not where my mind is right now. And actually, I shouldn't think about that right now, because that's part of the reason I wanted to play video games. Overkill. One thing that would be kind of fun to revisit there, though, is that, so we did our own custom audio engine that runs on the SPC2. And that was pretty fun to make, but ended up being kind of slow when you have stuff going on. When you fill up all the channels like Citrix does, you can run into performance problems. And I think there are some relatively easy ways to optimize some of that I just didn't do at the time. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, those are the kind of reasons why a project like that is fairly large. There's a SPC emulator in there. There's the audio engine on the SPC side. There's interface between the SPC and the 65C816 that you have to do. All of the editor work, project format, loading, saving, undo, redo over all of the features that the project has, file formats, actually laying out the UI and styling the UI. Things like the memory viewer. You have to do data compression on the pattern data to get anything useful. Otherwise, you'll get like 30 seconds of music data at most. All the transforms that go into that. There's tests because you don't want a lot of this to regress as you're working on it. Just a big project. But we did actually get something usable, at least for us. The hardware hacking book's really cool because it talks a lot about not necessarily technical details of a lot of the projects that he was working on, but a lot of the other details. Like, it talks about what it's like building a relationship with manufacturers in China and setting up sustainable supply chains. Things like what kind of costs go into that. He does talk some details about some of the projects he's worked on, but I think those are the things that were most memorable to me, just because they were so foreign to me. I mean, there's some like really left field chapters in there. Like, he has a whole chapter on bioinformatics that just makes sense in context, but it's something you may not expect. And just a lot of stuff about DMCA and copyright, and pretty crazy just how much stuff there is in that book. But it's because I think a lot of it was sort of distilled from blog posts. But yeah. My thoughts were that I really, really enjoyed the book. Made me think about a lot of things I haven't thought about before. Yeah, it's the bunny book. And I highly recommend it. One of those things that kind of opens your eyes to, because I think it's really easy when designing a hardware product to think that manufacturing just kind of happens in China. Like, you come up with a design, you send off the Gerber files, and you get the parts back in a bill. But it's very much not like that. Different kind of people that work in different factories. He spent a lot of time talking about designing testing equipment as well. So you're not just designing a product. Like, if you design a hardware product, you design the product, and then you also design all of the testing rigs that go into the manufacturing process. For example, if you design something like the Raspberry Pi, the workers in the factory that build the Raspberry Pi may not be very well educated, and especially the ones working on testing. So you can't really expect them to like read a bunch of like list of all the things they need to test. So he spent a lot of time doing these like bed of nails testing things on. So you would kind of like take the device and put it in somewhere, and then it would give you like a big green flash if it worked or a big red one if it didn't. And he was talking about how the testing rigs that he built would also do things like collect a bunch of logs that he would have the factory send to him every day. And it was all just this stuff to make sure that the manufacturer, in an effort to cut costs, wasn't, cutting certain corners that would make the thing unusable, but also to make sure that if there were any problems in any sort of stage of the process, that they would be caught early, at a point where they could all do something about it. It was just a really interesting perspective on a lot of things I hadn't thought about. Even simple things like if you make a hardware product, for example, it basically has to cost 3 times the cost of materials. Should be your MSRP and like no lower, else you'll never survive in a retail space. You'll never meet your Kickstarter deadlines. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. So it was just really interesting. Bunch of anecdotal stuff too. Various people that he met, people that helped him on his various journeys making different kind of projects like the Chumby or the Chibitronics project. I think what I like most about the book though is that it just made me think of a lot of things I hadn't thought about before, especially in terms of hardware manufacturing. The design is often the easy part. Designing the test rig and designing, you know, things around that, being able to source the parts, building a supply chain that's sustainable was not really something I'd ever thought about how you would do or that you would even do it. Also talks a lot about I think he called them the Shanjai, the people in Shenzhen that are doing a lot of reverse engineering and making their own products out of existing products, and also the sort of repair culture and the more open IP culture that has sort of come out of the East like that. Just seemed really interesting. So it's hard to point to details because I read it pretty fast, and to be honest, I don't think I internalized even half of it in a way that I think I should. I'll probably have to read the book several times is what it is, because you get a lot of little bits of information that are sort of these little nuggets surrounded by other ones, and so it's a lot of stuff I hadn't had to think about before, so I think would have to read it several times to really ground a lot of that information, but it was a very, very enjoyable read. Yeah, I definitely think so. Kickstarter projects, but also any kind of like anyone wanting to build something with hardware, I think should actually read it. It's the same with so one of my favorite books that I read little bits of all the time. It's Computer Architecture: A Quantitative Approach. Very, very good. And one of the things it teaches you, and what it means by a quantitative approach, is it teaches you a way to think about a lot of these hardware design aspects. Things like defining like how many things you're doing per cycle, or like what is your average amount of cycles an instruction takes, and like quantifying those with real math, and then looking at different approaches to see like, oh, my CPI is this, but if I make this change, my CPI will be this, but my overall clock speed is lower. But if it ups my, you know, just ways to compare those kind of details, I guess. And also makes you start thinking about like what are the actual cost metrics you should be thinking about when designing a piece of hardware. So there's a lot of external components rather than just like what does the ISA look like, that it gets you thinking about, and I just think that's really, really, really cool. As someone who is mostly just concerned with like how things work, you get a lot of the why things were designed the way they were, as opposed to just how things look in the end from both of those books. So I really enjoy reading both of those. What sounds bad for your OCD? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Or like which part of that would sound bad? Curious. Oh, right, yeah. Like optimizing and stuff. Well, it's more, it just gives you the kind of tools that you'd be thinking about to compare if you were designing a CPU, for example. Or if you're comparing two CPU designs, you can kind of look at it in more of a holistic but also more rigorous kind of way than just, oh, Risk has more registers. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting. But yeah, that's totally why I don't. I think that's why I really have enjoyed those books, is because I also tend to just start focusing on those details, and it kind of widened my perspective a bit. At least taught me that I should widen my perspective, which I think is really valuable. At the same time, that's also totally why I don't play games like Opus Magnum, which looks super good, but I just know I'll get lost in there and just spend way too much time trying to beat my friends than working on other projects, for example. I could make an Amazon list. To be honest, though, it's pretty much those books, and then I have physically based rendering over here that I haven't dug into enough. So those are like the two books that I really recommend, that I've really gotten a lot out of in the last year, especially. Other than that, I don't read enough, to be honest, that I feel like it would warrant an Amazon list. Maybe it would, though. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I generally think I should read more, to be honest. Yeah. It's generally like, so I did the same thing. So I live in Norway, but I'm an American, and learning Norwegian has actually been somewhat interesting, because when I first started to learn it, I did that kind of same thing where I started when people would say sentences, I would break down to see every individual word, and really get like the precise definition. And I think that was actually in hindsight a bad way to do it, because your brain actually has some pretty good, like, you know, language recognition facilities, and so like it recognizes sort of the more general shapes, and then you can kind of go down and think about it. But I mean, even if you look at a language like English, if you take an expression, for example, if you say the words etc. or and so on, like those as individual words make no sense, right? So trying to come up with where those came from is not really a useful thing to study. So you should rather just like try and understand the larger patterns first before digging into a lot of those details. And I find I do that a lot with like picking up new technology, or, you know, all kinds of stuff. I think that's another area where I've learned that that's kind of a bad approach to things, and that making sure to maintain some kind of overview of the bigger picture is really important. At the same time, though, if your brain has a natural tendency to sort of live in the details, like mine often does as well, you can try to use that to your advantage by, for example, the way my brain tends to work is it'll get really obsessed with something and just kind of work on that for a while. And the problem with that is I often don't know when it's going to start doing that. Like, it feels almost like it's sort of separate from my own control. But it'll do that, and then I can get, if it's in a certain direction, I can get a lot of stuff done within a certain project or within a certain area just extremely effectively, because like my brain just fills itself with details, and then it hits like a critical mass of understanding, and then I just go. And it's really useful with certain kinds of problem solving to have that ability. The downside is that once I've done that, then I kind of get burned out on that thing. It's one of the reasons why for personal stuff I jump around a lot between projects, and at work I do a similar kind of thing where like I'll work on one part of a product just a lot for like a week, and then just, oh, I don't want to touch this anymore. So the skill that I've learned to cope with this and turn it into more of a positive than a negative is just to understand that, okay, that happens. I'm not going to be consistently excited about every project that I'm working on right now. It's just going to bounce between those few. So I've gotten really good at documenting things and just taking a lot of notes as my brain is in that mode. And what that's allowed me to do is like I'll go on some like super tangent almost and just write down all the stuff. And then when I can feel myself kind of coming out of it, I just make sure I write down everything. And that allows me to later, if my brain sort of has some free space, I guess it is, and it's looking for something else to do. If I just read kind of my notes, then it gets really easy to get back into something. And at the same time, if you're working on a team and you're doing those kind of behaviors, it works out really well for the whole team too, because then they can see, first of all, what you're thinking and what you're doing in more detail. So if they're, if you need to communicate that, or if you get sick or something, it's easier for them to pick it up because they have more context available. So that's kind of an added benefit to that, but really it's, for future me's sake. And it also, there's something really therapeutic about writing out a lot of the ideas that you're thinking about, just taking notes, getting them out of the head, because my brain tends to loop on things for a while. Like if I don't know if it's a fear of losing an idea or a piece of understanding. I don't know what it is, but my brain tends to sit there and chug on the same thing over and over again. And then writing it down helps me get it out of my head. Those are the kind of lessons that over time I've learned to be able to work with the kind of brain that I have. But I think the important thing there is just to understand that sometimes it's easy to get too much into the fine details, and sometimes that can be okay. Just to understand, try to put that in a larger context is something that I have to remind myself to do. Yeah, I think a lot of people in this industry actually behave in a lot of those patterns. I find a lot of life generally is what I call self-manipulation. And it's just kind of taking advantage of some behaviors you have naturally in order to make them more effective or less destructive, as it were. But yeah, at work I maintain one of the compilers. It's kind of one of my primary roles right now, and it manifests there because like I'll do like tests for a week, and then I'll go and implement a bunch of features for a week, and then I'll go fix a bunch of reported bugs for a week, and then just kind of bounce between those few tasks. And it ends up being that the whole thing moves forward and becomes something that, because I'm also a big fan of making yourself obsolete as that's what a good software developer ideally should do. It's kind of at odds with the idea that it's a bit counterintuitive, because it sounds like being needed is good for job security, but actually the people that tend to be most successful in this industry are the ones that can make it so that the ones that can reduce their bus factor. So like the bus factor is if a person gets hit by a bus, how much is the rest of the company in trouble just because they're not around all of a sudden? And reducing bus factor as much as possible just makes the people around you really appreciate your work a little bit more. Again, because they can see more of it, but also because they know that, if something happens, they'll be in a better position, and they know that that's because of the effort that you're putting in to make sure that that's the case. So those kind of behaviors kind of play into that as well. Again, it's just about like, these are the way my brain, these are patterns that my brain exhibits, and these are the ways that I've found to make them positive traits. Rather than the negative side, which is just, oh, that guy doesn't have that guy can't focus for very long periods of time, or you know what I mean? Which no one has ever actually said to me, but it's ways that I've thought about myself, which can also be kind of destructive. But again, you can spin those and manipulate them into things that are positive. I don't know why I started talking about this, but it's pretty interesting. No, John Hunter, that's bus bandwidth. But yeah, bus factor, that's a really good good thing to try and reduce. Code yourself out of a job is kind of another way that's been put to me before, and I really like that idea actually. It's one of those things that's always better for a company long term if their employees are doing that kind of thing. Because in the long term, you end up getting like all these different parts of the product that can basically run themselves. So you don't need to call people at 3 in the morning. And people can actually go on vacation without fires burning. I would be a terrible president. Although, an advantage I have over a certain president is that I know that. That's as political as you ever see me get on the stream. Alright, how am I doing? Is there always that butterfly? Because that's actually pretty helpful. I think I only need 71 XP for the next level. I'm gonna go back now. And then save and then come back. Yeah, my HP's not great right now. So I'm gonna go back, restock and save, and then have at it. Not level 15. That was tough. Undertale was so good. But there were certain things that actually really frustrated me with Undertale, though. Oh, no, never mind. Not Undertale. But I will admit that I didn't want to play Undertale again, even after I beat it, like to do like the pacifist or whatever endings. I didn't know about those when I first started it. I went in, completely blank slate, which I'm really happy I did. And when I kind of found out that those were things that you could do, I didn't really have any more desire to play the game again, which I don't know if that says something about the game or just says something about me as a player. But I really enjoyed the one playthrough I had of that. But it wasn't that game that I was super frustrated with after I was done. It was Oxenfree that I was super mad about when I was done. This is one of those games where the the dialogue options and stuff actually have consequences in the game later on, but sometimes they would give you a choice and it wouldn't matter what you chose. The game would just progress normally. So I learned from those interactions that oh, it doesn't matter what I choose. But then later I found out that some of those times where it would give you those dialogue options, it actually did matter. And that inconsistency just made me so frustrated because the game basically taught me early on to not care about that. And then later, oh, you should have cared about that. It's like, screw that, dude. I'll never play this game again. So I was pretty mad about that. But in terms of Undertale, I just think it was like you get a lot of the humor the first time, and it seemed like, you know, what I would get from doing the other stuff, like playing it again, is like, oh, I'd hear different songs, you know, maybe I would get kind of a different ending. I don't know, it just didn't seem exciting enough to me to do again. But I really liked the first playthrough. I don't remember how long it was, but I do remember thinking that it was too long, to be honest. I think that might be why I don't want to play it again. Like, for the experience I got, I felt like I had to put in more hours than I wanted to. I don't remember how long the playthrough was. Alright, we're going for gold. I have way more game systems than I do games, so I just don't play that many games. I want to play more, but I just don't play that many. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not enticed to play that game again. At least not right now. I probably will be later. But at least definitely, like, right after I finished it, I didn't have much of a desire to play it again. I mean, I bet it's cool. I bet there's enough content there that might be pretty fun, but I just don't feel like I want to play it for some reason. It's kind of ironic because, like, Mirror's Edge Catalyst is one that I totally wanted to play right after I finished it. Totally wanted to replay it, and I don't know what it was because I didn't like the story in Catalyst. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the characters, but I really loved the look, and I think I just really liked how the world opened up to you as you progressed through the game, and doing that again just felt satisfying. Plus, I just love those games because I like the free running feel, and I like how it is just to play those games. I forgot to buy more hamburgers, but I think it'll be okay. Portal I actually never played. Need to do that at some point. I've been avoiding speedruns because I know I'll play it at some point, but avoiding watching speedruns, that is. But I actually haven't played those. So many games, like, I'll just miss because, like, I'll be really into something else when it comes out, and then I'll forget about it like at the same time that the hype dies down, and Portal is totally one of those. Like, I just wasn't into it at the time. Or I was into something else at the time, and then the hype died down, and then I just forgot about it. So that's also a game series that I need to play at some point. So there's a butterfly, and I'm really glad because I was gonna come out here and see if the butterfly was there. If it was, I was gonna use the PP stuff to heal. Since it's not, I'm gonna have a cookie. You know, my defense should be up, so I want to save the hamburgers. Yeah, I definitely need to play the Portal games. Trust me, I'm well aware of that. But, just haven't yet. One game that I really, really loved was Super Hot. I had so much fun with that. Just the first playthrough there. A very, very fun game. You know, another game I've been wanting to play again recently that's also a retro game is Yoshi's Island. I have it right here, actually. But that's the Japanese one. I can't read Japanese. But that's also a game that I just really loved as a kid. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get away from not eating a hamburger before this fight. Just like real life. I will tell you this, though, about Undertale that really has stuck with me is the soundtrack. And I actually listen to it quite often, especially Rashad EB's covers, because I really, really like that soundtrack. All right. Here we go. Let's do this. If your plan is to make me jealous by talking about it, it's not going to work. Just so you know. Feel free to do so, but it's not going to happen. Oh, you mean a thing happens? Man, if you guys had just said that. All right, let's do this. I think I want to do some Psy-rocking. You know, let's try this too, actually. Let's do a shield. Or I can probably wait on that, because if he's gonna do, like, take my defense down, assuming he'll do the same strategy as last time, it might make sense if I do this just to get rid of everyone. And then I do a shield later. Right. That was okay. I can definitely take one of those. How much does this do? Okay, so this does about the same damage as the other one. Just the other one attacks multiple enemies. But if it's only him, then I can do another one of these and I'll be fine. Okay, so he just tried to do a shield. And then I do less damage. I'm gonna do a shield on myself. I was thinking that I could do a one of these later. When he started to do like reduce my whatever. I'm bad at talking. I'll do another shield. And let's actually do a burger. Because I'm thinking that my PP is definitely pretty limited here. So this might be better in terms of cost. Man, he just keeps up with the biting attacks. Let's go ahead and whack him. And I missed. That's actually pretty annoying. Do one more of these. So what I thought he was doing the first time I fought him was that he would reduce my defense and then come out with the biting attacks. Now it seems like that was just kind of random. That he just happened to do it that way. So I think it's possible he does like 40 damage. But I don't think I can get away with not hitting him. Yeah, because I have to break down that shield. Now he's doing the shield again. Oh, that's helpful. And broke his shield, which is cool. Right, so now if I heal again, in fact, I can do one of my life ups. Because I still have my shield here. Oh, now I don't. Here's the thing, that costs 6 PP, so that's probably like the last time I can do that, which is bad. Let's just see if I can have at him now. Alright, that was it. Cool. That's actually good, because I don't know how much longer I would have lasted. Alright. That feels good. Thanks. I like how it's called Big Step because there's like actually a step there. I don't know what's happening. I caught a glimpse of a small cute puppy. I actually don't need to use that now. Well, cool. Get out of here. I can check the soundstone. I will do that actually. Oh, this is kind of cool. Huh. Now all the creatures are like running away from me and stuff. Hey, it's about time to start my stream. How long have I been going for? 3 hours? Not bad. I'll go a little while longer. Oh, I'm wicked spoops. I don't think that hypnosis has ever worked on me. And if it had, I didn't notice because I was talking about something. Don't run from me, little punk. Bam. Dang right I won. I had a key, dude. No. Oh, I will. First, I'm gonna go stay in a hotel and call my dad. I really like how he walks. I like a lot of things about this game. Oh, Harrow. Oh, hey, Paula's using her magic. This game's getting cool. Hi, Paula. I'm gonna get some money out and save. Ah, talk to the ATM again. Give money now. Got like 1,351. All right. I think it was City Hall I was supposed to go to. So let's do that. No, it was a police station. Isn't it over here? I don't remember where it is. like how the fresh breeze movement is totally a fart joke. Hey, there's a police station. This is great writing right here. Well. Oh, cool. Boy, am I glad I saved. The music in this game is so cool. Okay, so I have to fight 5 of them in order. That's actually less ideal than fighting one at than fighting all of them at once, I think. With a crushing chop. These guys are beating up on a kid. Oh, thanks, SKTS. I didn't realize. You're tough. You should join the police force. Cool, I got a hamburger. We're on fat boy. Rude. I mean, they're beating up on a kid, but at the same time, I'm beating up cops with a bat. So I'm just not that sure. Not so sure I actually have much of a high ground here. It's not gonna change my actions though. Nuclear suplex attack. Well. Good hit. Came out of that one unscathed. That grinding did me some good. That's it, buddy. Oh. Well. I only had to fight 4 of his 5 finest. Super Ultra Mambo Tango Foxtrot Martial Arts. Might have spelled something. Captain Strong attacked. Alright, I don't know what he can do to me, so I'm gonna eat a hamburger. He's on guard. Good. He lost his temper. His offense up went up by 1. Well, he hasn't hit me yet, so I'm just gonna keep whacking him with my bat. I mean, I have full HP, so... There he goes. Only 22 damage? Not a problem. Oh, he dodged my bat. It's almost as if he's learning my attacks. Okay. Okay. That's a good amount of exp. Oh, baby. Nice. beep, click, click, strong here. He's a kid in a red cap. But that's gonna cause some problems. Something dumb like someone steals my hat or something. It's just, I feel like that's right up in this game's. I feel like that's likely that would happen. Am I supposed to have a phone? No. Thing is, I don't know what's between here and Tucson. So I think I'm gonna go call my dad. Actually, no, there was not a phone in the video game place, I think. Now I'm going to Tucson. Exit mice. Oh, nice. The music in these rooms is perfect. That's cute. What bugs? More fun, color cycling, wavy stuff. Ugh. Smash. Thanks, SKTS. See you later. Sleep well. Presento. Nice. I like all these free hamburgers. Oh, hey, there's mushrooms that are walking here. Ramblin' evil mushroom. Scattered some spores. Uh-oh. Alright, so now I'm being introduced to status ailments. So what does that mean? What has happened? I got a mushroom on my head. I'm mushroomized. I don't know what that means yet. But I really like that there's a mushroom on my head. Well, so far there doesn't seem to be much consequence to this, other than I have a mushroom on my head, so I guess we'll see what happens. But so far it's just adorable. Oh. It messes with my controls. That's so cool. I love it. That's awesome. Enemies look like humans with weird colored faces. Oh no. Oh, this is really really disturbing actually. If I just rotate my controller, then it's fine. Yeah, that works. At least for now, because it seems that it keeps rotating. I'll visit a doctor when I get to a doctor. That's the problem. Ooh, that actually hurt a lot. Let's do life up. Actually, I wonder what healing does. Had no visible effect on Ness. Okay, so that wasn't useful. It's a really funny ailment. Am I in Tucson yet? I can't really tell, other than that this whole area looks different. Yeah, okay, I'm in Tucson. Nice. So let's talk to this lady. Yes. Chaos Theater. Berglund Park. Happy Village. Well, I don't know anything. That was a good pause. Alright, what does the sign say? Oh, this is really hard to navigate with this in there. I got this name because we were at first. Well. Cycle shop. Ooh, I bet a bike would be very useful. What's happening? Oh, it's this guy again. He's gonna take a picture of me with a mushroom on my head. Fuzzy pickles. That's funny. Alright, well, I really would like to find a hospital. This is a department store. It's just not a hospital. There's the Chaos Theater. a house. Oh, where's the hospital? What does this guy say? Dude, I just talked to Paula. Oh, that's an enemy because he had a different colored face. Did tell me that. The unassuming local guy. That apparently looks cool with the blending. Yeah, I didn't try the map because I thought I would have to buy another map. Maybe I'm just totally wrong. I'm totally wrong. All right, the hospital is to my right. Let's go there. Sure. Okay, well, where's the doctor? Well, yeah. Oh, nice. The guy just gave me 50 bucks for the mushroom that grew on my head. Man, I would love to be able to sell, like, toenails. Just saying. Alright. I'm gonna go to the hotel. I'm gonna save. And then I'm gonna head out. Because it's been like 3.5 hours. Yeah, almost closer to 4 hours. So this was a good run. then I could explore Tucson in a later stream. I want to talk to this guy in his fancy car. That's more expensive here. It's okay. I have the money. Tucson Tribune. Thanks, dude. See ya, Hunter. Hey, this guy's also got it. Yes. Okay. People have the right attitude. All right. Okay, thanks guys for hanging out. I'm gonna head out, and I'll see you next time.